This is our informational night, and we're going to give information about our Virtual Learning Academy program. And I'm Liz Tovar. I'm the principal for the Virtual Learning Academy program, and I'll go ahead and let everybody else introduce themselves.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Erin Reyes, and I am the school counselor for the Virtual Learning Academy program.
Good evening, I'm Renee Areno, and I am the Secretary Attendance Clerk for the VLA program.
Good evening, my name is Angela Cunningham, and I'm the English teacher for the VLA.
And I am John McGowan. I am teaching math, old math.
Great. So I am going to go over the program overview. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. All right, so I want to talk a little bit about what the Virtual Learning Academy program is, and it is our Campbell Union High School District's Independent Studies program. So this is for students who want to do a fully online program. We are not a hybrid program. So what that means is that students would attend all of their classes online through our program. Our classes are taught by CUHSD teachers. We do have 2 full-time teachers who happen to be with us tonight. Ms. Cunningham and Mr. McGowan, and the rest of our teachers do teach full-time at their home school and teach 1 class through VLA. Students who come into the Virtual Learning Academy program also take AP courses. However, those AP courses are taken through our Edgenuity classes, and that's our online platform that we use. And I do want to stress that VLA is not a credit recovery school. So if students are thinking they'll do VLA in order to recover their credits, we're not a set up for credit recovery. However, we do offer, or our students do participate in our district-wide credit recovery opportunities, but we're not a credit recovery program per se. And in terms of students wanting to join VLA, there is a mandatory orientation that both student and parent or guardian will need to attend. So I want to talk a little bit about registration, orientation, and students being able to get their Chromebooks. So we're talking about registration or joining VLA, or our Virtual Learning Academy program, for next year. So it's really important to keep in mind that VLA is a program and not a school. So what that means is that students still have to go through their homeschool registration. And of course, registration information will be sent from the home schools during the summer. Emails will also be sent out. So it's important for parents who are interested in signing their students up for the VLA program that they do all of the home registration at their home school, because VLA is a program. Students are still enrolled in their home school. Just join our program. And in terms of the high school orientation, that of course happens in the summer. It's so important for students to make sure that they attend their high school orientation in the summer, because that's where they're going to get their school ID. And that's where they'll be able to get all the information that they need from their home school, because again, students still belong to their home school. They'll still need their ID if they want to participate in any dances or any activities, and I'll cover that in a later slide as well. It's important for students, especially incoming 9th graders, to make sure that they attend their homeschool orientation so that they can get their Chromebook. As I mentioned before, everything is online, everything is via Zoom, so it's so important for students to have that Chromebook with them to make sure that they can participate in our program. And of course, the Chromebook is obtained during orientation, and of course, all VLA students must have a CUHSD issued Chromebook. So as I mentioned, participation in school activities, students are still enrolled in their home school and may participate in after-school activities. So students don't get checked out of their home school. They still belong to their home school, but they participate in our program. Students are also allowed to participate in athletics. Students are allowed to attend dances, games, and other school events if they choose to do so. Students are not allowed on campus during the school day. So I do want to stress that, yes, students are allowed to participate in school activities, but it has to be after school. It can't be during the school day. So diploma graduation, we do have many parents and students asking about whether a student will receive a high school diploma from VLA, and the answer is no, they will receive their high school diploma from their home school. Seniors may also participate in their home school's graduation ceremony. So it's really important for students to read their emails from their home school pertaining to anything having to do with graduation. So the schools will send out information about cap and gowns, and anything pertaining to graduation if there's graduation practice. So we stress to our students that they still have to check any incoming email from their home school, depending on what it is, but especially if you're a senior and you need that information about graduation. So school materials and books, we do provide all of the materials and books that students need in order to participate in VLA. So students would just need to pick up the books or materials from their homeschool book room, and any additional materials like art supplies, math graphing calculator, anything else that is required to participate in our program, students would get through their homeschool. So Canvas, we also use Canvas, just like all of the other schools use Canvas. We use Canvas in our VLA program. So all work for synchronous and asynchronous classes are posted through Canvas. So our students are familiar with using Canvas. We do provide all of the Zoom links for each class that can all be found on Canvas. Of course, grades, assignments are also posted on Canvas. There is a messaging feature that can be used between students and teachers. And then of course, parents can also sign up for a Canvas account. So I mentioned earlier that we also utilize Edgenuity, which is our online platform, and we mainly use the Edgenuity platform to provide students with AP courses. So we don't have any teachers teaching AP courses within our VLA program, but we do offer it through our Edgenuity platform. So students are allowed to join VLA and also take an advanced placement class. And basically with Edgenuity, it is teacher in the cloud. Students do meet with the VLA independent studies teacher, and that's one of our teachers. So students do have a teacher, an Edgenuity teacher, and they also have a CUHSD teacher that they need to check in with on a weekly basis. And it's important for students to remember that students only have those 18 weeks or the equivalent of our semester to complete an online course taken through Edgenuity. It's important for students and families to know that the login requirement is Monday through Friday, at least 1 to 2 hours a day. AP exams are taken through the homeschool. So this is one of those things where students have to pay attention to emails from their home schools, because all registration for AP exams will take place at the home school, and that happens early fall. And I do want to stress that, of course, not making progress in Edgenuity classes in the first 2 weeks means that students may be dropped from the course. You can see we have several AP courses that are offered through Edgenuity. Okay, the VLA classes and schedule, Ms. Reyes is going to go through these next slides.
Thank you, Ms. Tovar. So I want to spend some time talking about the structure of our classes. And the first one is what we call synchronous classes. So students are going to be scheduled in synchronous classes, which means that they need to attend a scheduled class at a specific time and period through Zoom. So we do have a similar A-B calendar where the A and B days alternate. And every time it's an A day, and a student has a class on A day, that would be periods 1, 2, or 3. And then B days would be periods 4, 5, and 6. Attendance is mandatory. We really want to stress that students have to be attending all of their classes through our VLA program. And these synchronous classes meet twice a week for 75 minutes each. And when they attend class, cameras have to be turned on. That is a major requirement in our program. Cameras have to be turned on. And then just to kind of give you a preview, currently we have these courses offered synchronously. So we have our English classes, math classes, we have chemistry, we have a sociology class, and then our Spanish classes are all taught synchronously. So that means they're scheduled on a specific period on A or B day. And then now there's asynchronous classes. So we have our students take a mix of synchronous and asynchronous classes. So what the difference is, the asynchronous class, it's not scheduled during a class period on the A or B days. Instead, these classes, the students will meet with their teacher for a 30-minute check-in once a week with their teacher via Zoom. And most of those asynchronous classes are scheduled for Wednesdays. Most of them are Wednesdays. So I'll give you, we'll show you a calendar of our calendar to see what that really looks like. So yes, asynchronous classes meet once a week for 30 minutes, mostly on Wednesdays. And throughout the rest of the week, students are completing their work independently. Even though they meet for once a week for 30 minutes, the cameras still have to be on during class. And then here are some classes that we currently offer that are asynchronous right now. So like our history classes, social studies classes, biology and physics, and then a few of our electives like psychology, photography, and art are all taught asynchronously this year. It may change a little bit next year. So here's a snapshot of the bell schedule for our A and B days. So once again, those are our synchronous classes scheduled for A and B days. So every A day, it's periods 1, 2, and 3. B days, it's periods 4, 5, and 6. And the first period of the day starts at 8:30, with the last period of the day ending at 2:15. In between, there is an office hour period dedicated for students to meet with their teachers, get some additional support, get some extra help, ask clarifying questions. So there's no classes that are scheduled during that time, so students have that dedicated time to get extra help. And then here is a snapshot of our A/B calendar. This is a snapshot of this year's calendar. It's not next year's, but just to kind of give you a visual of how our calendar works. So as you can see, the A and B days do alternate every week, but I do want to highlight the Wednesdays. If you go down this entire row of Wednesdays, it's asynchronous. So students, it's really important for students to reference their calendar, check it every single day so that they can keep track of if it's an A day or a B day. And then Wednesdays are asynchronous days. So anytime they have an asynchronous class, again, they're not going to any A or B day classes, but this is when they go to their asynchronous classes. So how does that really work? What does their schedule really look like? They're taking some synchronous classes and some asynchronous classes. How do we keep track of that? So at the beginning of the school year, all of our students were required to complete a time management form. So then they can piece together their schedule and plug in when and where and how long they are going to dedicate their time to study and do their homework and make sure they're eating their meals and doing their chores and just making sure they're planning their time accordingly. So here's a sample time management form. I highlighted in yellow, those are the times that this student is actually logging into class. They're logging into Zoom for class time. So in the blue columns, those are the B days. And as you can see, periods 4 and 6, that's when the student is going to class. And then on A days, periods 1 and 3, they're going to their English and Spanish 1 classes. And then if you go to the middle column, that's where that's Wednesdays. The student is taking an art class at 11:30 and then a biology class at 2:30. As you can see, that's only happening once a week because that's their asynchronous class. So in between all of that, the student has dedicated certain times to work on their homework, their study time, and then any times where they're actually not going to a class. I hope you can see me pointing to these times where they're not physically going to a specific class, they're using that time to work independently on their other classes. And then they've also committed to attending their teacher's office hours. So they put that all on that time management. So I hope this helps in piecing together the synchronous classes and the asynchronous classes and how that looks like for like a weekly schedule. And now I'm going to hand it off to our VLA teachers to talk about student expectations.
All right, I will tell you about this section of our presentation, attendance and participation. So students must attend all classes on time. That's would be the same expectation as if they were in person. Assignments must be completed on a weekly basis for some of the synchronous classes. There's specific deadlines as well. Students failing classes, not attending classes, not submitting assignments, you're not working. We might send you back to your home school. And progress will be monitored every grading period, but you as parents can check into Canvas anytime you want and monitor it on a daily basis. Oh, do I have control to advance the slide? Oh, I do. Oh, what do you know? Classroom expectations. Classrooms, cameras must be turned on during class. You can see we're emphasizing that in several locations. Students must attend class on time, which means logging into Zoom a couple of minutes before class begins, because there's always technical difficulties. And that's something I work with my students this semester. It's like 5 minutes, man, 5 minutes before the bell. Participation is required during classes, including answering questions both out loud and in the Zoom box or in the Pear Deck slideshow. So there's multiple ways for students to interact. Students taking Edgenuity courses must log in Monday through Friday and must be on pace. So you can't do all your work at on the last semester. And check your email, stay organized. I cannot tell you how many times my students have shared my screens and I see 43 unread emails. No, you got to read them on a daily basis. All communications will be through email, student and parent square, or Canvas. Keep your inbox organized and get rid of emails you no longer need, which will be most of them. Teachers will be scheduling weekly check-ins through email and Canvas. So this is our primary method of communications with the students, and we need them to check in about that. Let me turn it over to my co-teacher.
Hello, everyone. So a successful VLA student is organized and is an independent learner. So in the home schools, the larger schools, you have a teacher there who's standing in front of you, can really make sure that you're getting things done before you leave the room. And in the VLA, you have to do things independently because we won't be there in the room with you, making you do it. Being on time and all of that is really important. Asking questions during class. The office hours are extremely important. It's one of the really unique things about the VLA is that we have this amazing time for you to come and get one-on-one support. And Mr. McGowan stressed the checking the email. Can't really stress that enough. It's super important, and communicate regularly with us. Use the study resources that the teacher provides because we do give plenty of them. So do that first. And if you're organized, everything will be great. If you're absent, you want to review the materials for that day as soon as possible. Everything gets posted into Canvas. So absences happen occasionally. It happens to the best of us, but everything is there for you to review. And you want to do your assignments on time, not late. The thing about independent learning like this is that the work can really pile up on you if you're not careful because you're not doing things in class the way that you would. And so you want to make sure that you're on time so that you don't feel overwhelmed by the amount of homework. It's not more than a normal school. It's just, again, there's not classwork per se. And then you want to answer questions in class and participate during the in-class activities. There's pros and cons to the VLA. Obviously, I'm on the side of the pros. This is an amazing opportunity, and our students are really happy. They love being with us because for so many reasons. And one of the main reasons is the freedom. They have a ton of freedom, and a lot of students are inclined to get their work done on their own, and they don't like to be told, okay, you have to stay in this room, in this seat until a bell rings. So you have a lot more freedom to determine your own schedule. They get to sleep in a lot better because they don't have to worry about commuting to a classroom. Some of our students have had health challenges, and that can be really tough when you're missing a lot of in-person class. But with the VLA, it's easy to still log in. And it's the same thing for students who are passionate about extracurricular activities, because they can attend their tournaments and whatnot without having to miss a ton of school. So another great thing is the VLA teachers have really high quality, high engagement curriculum. And since you have more time, you have more flexible time to enjoy that curriculum and to take your time doing it, because you're not running around a campus. And as I mentioned, the teachers have a bit more flexibility as well, so that individualized assistance, like in the office hours, for example, is there. And I found a lot of my students feel like they get a lot of one-on-one help that they didn't get in their home schools. You don't have to deal with immature peers who, are around making their jokes and all of that. You can focus on your learning instead of the social component, which can be challenging. And you still do get to interact with peers through breakout rooms, Canvas discussions, and Pear responses. So you're not completely isolated, but you don't have the sometimes challenging social component. There's, of course, another side to all of those coins. So the freedom that you have can be misused and abused and lead to a lack of participation and effort. Again, we are not going to be there in the room with you, forcing you to do anything. So this sometimes leads to failing classes when students aren't independent and organized enough. And you have to take responsibility for your own schedule. So, you have to really set that alarm and get up on your own and all of that. And the good thing is that you don't have to deal with the immaturity of certain peers that you don't want to be around, but you also lack that face-to-face interaction. So that's something to take in mind. You might miss some opportunities that come from social interactions, and you don't want to become antisocial. So our most successful students have opportunities to socialize outside of school. And sometimes that discomfort that you have in a school can lead to personal growth. So, VLA students need to seek that personal growth on their own. And students who love group work and group discussions might miss that element in this program because it's more independent. So again, of course, I'm on the side of the pros. I love the VLA. So many of our students are just really, really happy with us. But it's a decision that you want to take into careful consideration before joining.
Okay, I'm going to talk a little bit about our resources. So all of our school sites offer CASI counseling services. They each have a wellness center, and we still partner with the CASI services. So any students who are interested in receiving mental health counseling, that is still done through the home high school. So students can still access those services. I can submit a referral if that is something that your student is interested in receiving. And after tonight, we will share these slides so you can access the links that we've provided in these slides. And then, as I mentioned, I'm the school counselor, so I do support students academically, social, emotionally, and then through college and career counseling. And I have also set up my very own counseling Canvas course with resources and ways to connect with me so I can meet and check in with students. I've provided my email address, and I have my own office hours. Again, that is all included in the Canvas course that students will have access to when they join our program. And more so on office hours, and we've mentioned this earlier, our synchronous English and math classes, teachers offer office hours on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays. So 4 times a week from 11:15 a.m. to 12 p.m. Plenty of opportunities for our students to receive additional support from our teachers. And then when it comes to asynchronous classes, teachers will post their own office hours on Canvas. Yeah, and then if any students are taking Edgenuity classes, maybe they're taking an advanced placement course through Edgenuity, those teachers through Edgenuity have virtual office hours available to them, and a link where they can schedule a meeting with those teachers. So there are opportunities to meet with the Edgenuity teachers as well. Okay.
All right, so I will talk about next steps. So there's 3 steps that students need to take if they are interested in joining the Virtual Learning Academy for next year. So the very first one is, of course, to apply online. And the application opens up tonight. Here is the link. It's also on our website, CUHSD website, and please take a note of the application deadline. It will be Friday, May 5th, because we need to start planning for next year, make sure we have all of the courses available for our students. Let's go to step 2. Okay, so step 2, the other requirement is attending a mandatory orientation. So all students applying will need to attend a mandatory orientation, and this orientation will be in person. It's probably the only time we'll see each other in person, and a parent or guardian must also accompany the student. The orientation will cover VLA expectations, class schedules, attendance, and also information about transitioning to an online program. We do already have our orientation date set up. The first orientation is Tuesday, May 9th at 4:30 p.m. and that will be held at the district office. As I mentioned, it will be in person. The other orientation date that we have is Wednesday, May 10th at 4:30. And we put here TBD just because we're not sure if we need a larger venue or not. But certainly if students apply for the May 10th orientation, we'll make sure we get that information out before that date. Let's go on to step 3. So step 3, so the last step is signing the VLA contract. So each student and parent must sign a written agreement, which is our contract, before the start of the school year. So students cannot start our Virtual Learning Academy program without signing the contract. And students must commit to a full year of VLA. So that's what the contract is stating, that students will commit to a full year, they'll commit to attending, they'll commit to turning in their work on a weekly basis. And the contract, of course, will be emailed via Dropbox. So we do collect an electronic signature. Parents, we don't pass paper back and forth. And of course, if the contract isn't signed, then the student can't start the program. So it's really important for that last piece, the contract, to be signed by both parent and student. And of course, if students aren't following the contract, for example, if they're not attending class or they're not doing their work, then the result is that they will be returned to their home school. Unfortunately, we have sent back students to their home school who just weren't able to follow through with the requirements for our Virtual Learning Academy program. I've also linked integrity and behavioral guidelines, or academic integrity and behavioral guidelines. And again, we will share this presentation with you so you can access those links. And that is the end of our presentation. Now we do have the Q&A feature enabled. So if you'd like to ask a question, please do so on the Q&A. If you want to take a screenshot, you can certainly email any one of us in this presentation. You can send us an email, we'll respond. But right now we will be open and stay a couple of minutes for anybody who has questions.
Looks like we have a question. Are students with IEPs eligible for VLA?
Yes, so students with IEPs are eligible for VLA. We have a couple of students with IEPs who are in our program right now. The only thing is that a meeting needs to be held to determine if VLA can offer all the support and classes that are outlined in the IEP. So it's not automatic. You can get into VLA. There has to be a meeting with, there has to be an IEP meeting that is facilitated through the case manager.
You want me to read the next question?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. Would the diploma be a normal high school diploma as the one a student would get going in person?
Yes, the diploma would be exactly the same. In fact, at the beginning, I stated that we are a program and not a school. So depending on where your home school is, that's where your diploma would come from. So if your home school is Branham High School, then you would get a diploma from Branham High School and also participate in the graduation ceremony.
Are AP Edgenuity classes separate from the regular school day schedule?
Yes, AP Edgenuity classes are separate in that they are asynchronous. So that means that students need to work on these courses on their own. They need to dedicate 1 to 2 hours on a daily basis. And I had also mentioned that students taking any AP classes need to also check in on a weekly basis with one of our CUHSD ISP teachers to make sure that they are on track and on pace.
I'll also add on to the Edgenuity classes that students can access the course 24/7. So they could move a lot faster if they work on the course more. But we still require, I just want to clarify that there is no Zoom class to attend for the AP Edgenuity class on, but they still need to meet with our CUHSD independent study teacher once a week for 30 minutes. So they're still required to do a check-in with our teacher for Edgenuity. Okay, next question. Who is responsible for the goal setting and meeting part of the IEP? Are they connected to a case manager? Is it the same as a homeschool or different?
So the case manager is responsible for the goal setting in terms of the IEP. So a student is connected and attached to a case manager. So, and that's a case manager from their home school. So it is exactly the same as if they were attending in person or in our program.
Do children have to take an AP Edgenuity class? Can they just take a regular class?
Most of our students take general ed regular classes. They do not need to take AP classes through Edgenuity. It's only if they choose to take an AP class, but we have very few students taking advanced placement classes.
When is a check-in for Edgenuity? Is it after school hours?
Usually it's during the day, during the week. The teachers are flexible to do after school hours. It just really depends on when they agree to connect. Those are great questions. Do we have, oh, okay, keep them coming.
I noticed that the class options were very scarce. Are the same variety offered as the home school or just art, psych, and photo?
So yes, our offering in terms of electives is limited. So for example, we don't have the ability to offer some more hands-on courses like theater or music. So we are limited in our electives. So yes, we just have art, psychology, photography, and sociology as electives.
Can a student join as a sophomore or junior, or do they need to start from freshman year?
Students can join at any grade level. So regardless of what their grade, so if they're a freshman through senior, they can join our Virtual Learning Academy program.
So students only log on A and B days 2 times a day. I'll answer that. So,
Okay.
so it's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous classes. So some classes will be synchronous, so they do log in on A and B days twice a week. I want to clarify that it's twice a week, but they may also have some asynchronous classes where they only attend once a week for 30 minutes. And that's usually scheduled on Wednesdays because our Wednesday schedule is asynchronous. There's no A or B classes to attend.
Well, thank you. It looks like we have answered. Oh, nope, we have one more.
Okay, could I get clarification for the synchronous class? Do they only have to attend 2 out of 3 classes on those days? So it really depends on the schedule and what classes are scheduled on what period. Some students have a first period, second period, and third period. And then, so that they would have to log in on A days for 3 periods. And then they may have 3 asynchronous classes that they would attend on Wednesdays. So that would mean they don't have any classes to attend on B days. There's no 4th, 5th, or 6th periods for this student. So each student has a very, very unique schedule. Some may have more asynchronous classes than synchronous classes. So it really just depends on their grade level, what period those classes are scheduled for, if they're synchronous or asynchronous. So yeah, sometimes they are only logging into class once a day because they only have 1 A day class to attend. Some may have 3 classes on B days. So it all varies. It really just depends on how the schedule is put together. You are welcome. This might be it. Do we have any last questions?
All right, it looks like there aren't any more questions. I want to go ahead and close out our presentation. Thank you so much for joining us tonight. And of course, please feel free to send us an email. We will answer any questions you may have. I know sometimes we get off or, think of something the next day. Please feel free to email us. We will be more than happy to answer any questions you may have. And of course, look at the information we have on our website. This presentation will be on our website shortly, early next week, I would say. And of course, the presentation, the PowerPoint, will be available on our website as well. So I would like to close out our presentation. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.